Well, look, come on, y'all. We can at least share information and try to come to some consensus. We did or we didn't. Did we or didn't we?
So the research I did,
Some did.
I read the Woolworth days, some narratives from some of the slaves that said that
Slaves? Oh, what did they look like? These slaves. Oh, and they were slaves. What made them slaves?
At this time they were.
What made them slaves? That's my question. How do you make a slave? See, because I keep reading books that say the slaves were brought from Africa. That's what I keep reading. Is that right? Okay, when they were brought from Africa, how did that become a slave? Was it a human being? Oh, it was. But you said it was a slave. It wasn't a man or a woman, right? It wasn't a person. But some kind of way, our language is always about slaves. Now I want you to tell me how y'all think so much of yourself being children. Your language is always about slaves. I can't figure that out.
I know, but the challenge is 10 years.
That's right.
That I said.
No. What happens is we're not consistent with the way that we study. So what I'm showing you now are physiological exercises. Trace an angel. See the picture? What does the angel look like? What does it look like? White wings. I'm a what? And why do we keep calling people relative to us slaves? Here's a child that knew. A child knew. And you mean to tell me we're still calling our ancestors and ourselves, not me, slaves? I was so offended today I don't do it. I started to say something, right? We're working something. See, I ain't working with you. This is something else. I'm just trying to help some folks that I feel relatives with. If they ever get this. But today I was working, so I had to keep a straight face, smile, fight on through that. That was an absolute insult. Because someone almost suggested that I am not free. Someone almost suggested that. And you know what? They say they love their ancestors, they love themselves. They're the first ones usually talk that smack about Africa and all this other nonsense. They love something. But they would call their ancestors slaves. Ain't no love there to me. Especially if you try to tell me I'm not free. Why I'm not free?
Because we ain't all free.
Oh, who are y'all that ain't free? What's they got? My brothers and sisters, I came here alone. I got to this planet alone. I don't know what y'all talking about. I got here alone. Listen, I'm the only child between the folks that got together that night to have fun. I'm the only one. And I ain't had nobody the whole time, partner. No one. So don't bring that to me. That's nonsense. I ain't had no one. This is real now. I'm talking real, for real.
We've been taught different from that.
That's right. That's the point. Now let's teach ourselves something else. Because now it's time to survive. With everything in the universe, it is interconnected, interrelated. And now you're going somewhere else and we start to mix apples and oranges. And I'm not ready to do that. All of a sudden, we telling our babies that their parents and their parents were slaves. Because that makes them slaves too. And you don't mind, I'll tell you what you do. Try this one. Walk up to a child and say, peace, God.
Oh, they don't like that.
What happened in Denver when I did
He
it?
said he wasn't a God.
He said he can't be a God. Then I said, well, what you rather do before me say, what's up, little nigga? What he say?
He said that's right.
Well, you're standing there.
I was there.
I think some of you others will stand. I do this all the time. I'm not out here some martyr waiting. There's some demigod waiting to be a martyr. I ain't trying to be a martyr. I ain't trying to save nobody. I'm trying to get some kids to save themselves. They walk into the trap we walked into. They got problems. They're gonna grow up broke and angry.
Oh, Lord.
Ain't gonna be no love.
Broke ain't good.
They're already mad. Listen, they making millions of dollars selling CDs. They ain't even doing nothing that you could call them a criminal for doing. You can't even go to jail for this. They still killing each other. At least we were throwing bricks at the penitentiary. About what? Nothing. Oh, this is love everybody telling me about, right? Everybody was raised up with. See, I'm saying this. If we do some real work, we're going to show some real love now to some children. But this is nothing that we can bring from back then that was shown to us. This is something we got to make now happen and go forward. This is a brand new day. You say you were a slave yesterday. I bet you were a slave today.
Don't do that, Doc.
She's showing us a picture.
Yeah.
She's showing us a picture right here where it's on the chart that A is ox. But there's some wording here somewhere
All right.
that you...
The earliest certain ancestor of A is Aleph, the first letter of the Phoenician alphabet.
Now the Phoenician alphabet is also the Semitic alphabet, Aleph. It is also equivalent to the Arabic alphabet, Aleph. In Arabic or in Hebrew, Aleph or Aleph means ox. And no matter where you see it, if you see it as the letter A that you write with, which is actually the Roman or Latin A, you're still saying ox. Now I ain't made nothing up, have I? Now how important would it be if your child, when they are children, in the first grade, they learn that the letters that they are learning to write, that they write with actually originate out of Africa. Wouldn't that be marvelous for them to be able to understand this? And now whenever they hear the term black or slave or any of these terms, they don't have to think little of themselves. Because right now, every time they hear the words black or slave, they're thinking about themselves as the lowest thing on the face of the planet. There can be nothing lower than a slave. Absolutely nothing. You can't, not even whale manure.
So if they wasn't slaves, what were they, Dr. Black?
They were people who had been kidnapped and incarcerated against their wills. They don't make you a slave. You only become a slave when you decide to be that. When you submit. That's when you become a slave. Now, if you were thinking that these people were slaves, you were thinking like white people. Real simple. Real simple. You have to stop doing that. You have to stop thinking of people that you love in a negative manner, in a disintegrating manner. You don't have to think lowly of the people that you say you care about. Matter of fact, if you tell me you care about somebody at the same time you call them a slave, that tells me you lying. You are lying. And then for you to say, well, see, I didn't know. And I didn't know. So what? Ignorance is no excuse. I bet you what? Go to court and tell a judge you didn't know.
No excuse.
None. And this is about survival. That's right. Descendants of slaves. I don't allow the children that I work with that study with me to talk with them. And I teach those children, as soon as you got somebody trying to tell you something about you, the descendant of a slave, you get up and get away from their presence because they don't care about you. Anybody that does that does not care about you. If they are trying to get you to think something about, well, see, slaves were black peoples. You know, and then all of a sudden, whenever you hear the word slave, what do you see? What do the children see in their heads?
Look like that.
Something.
What they call somebody black. The devil. But now when you call it the devil, you're actually speaking a word that never existed until some hillbillies up in the mountains who could not say the word correctly, and because they could not pronounce the vowels correctly. What are you teaching your children about the vowels? What are the vowels?
A-E-I-O-U.
A-E-I-O-U. So you just told me who you are. You the kid, you the child of Snuffy. Because you speak like Snuffy. That's how Snuffy taught us to say the vowels. And that's how we think the vowels are correct. But now this is weird. You're also telling me that English comes after French, right?
Yeah.
English comes after Espanol, or Spanish, right?
Right.
What are the vowels in Spanish again, Clifford?
A, E, I, O, U.
Now this is weird. The vowels in French are what?
A, E, I, O, U.
Swahili?
A-E-I-O-U.
Italian?
A-E-I-O-U.
It's the same way until you get to English.
A-E-I-O-U.
This gets to be weird. It makes me think that English must not be correct. And now, you know what? When we hear someone teach us the language thinking they know what they're doing, we're running around saying words like slave. It's Slav, that's right. And guess what we named our children? Mercedes. But you really meant to say Mercedes. You follow me?
Maceo.
Maceo when we meant to say Marcel. Yeah. Now we're starting to get this correct because now we're starting to hear the vowels correctly. Once you can hear the vowels correctly, now you can speak other languages easily. But if someone has you thinking that what you're doing is correct, and I want to know from y'all, why y'all think so much that these people gave you some truth?
Wow.
I don't either, because as a matter of fact, the guy that invented American English didn't say this. What we're being taught in the schools, the guy that invented, the person who invented American English was being taught in these schools today. He didn't say none of that. He said the vowels correctly spoken are A-E-I-O-U. And guess what you look like you might be as old as me. It's possible. You probably...
Más mayor.
Yeah, but I mean, are you all as old as me?
Older.
Oh, you think so? Well, how about this? When we... I don't like that we stuff because we speaking French. But when I was a child, and I'm figuring since you might be older than me, you might remember this. We had a thing in the school called a blueback speller. Do you remember the blueback speller?
Yeah.
A little thin book. It was real thin. I think it cost them about 10 cents. There was a guy by the name of Noah Webster had actually created the blueback speller. And all the kids used to have this blueback speller. And if you went through that blueback speller, you could actually learn to read. And so back then in them colored schools that I went to, they were learning how to read. Now I can't figure this out because now today in these schools, the children not learning how to read and they don't know the vowels. Or at least they think the vowels are correctly spoken. What did you tell me a minute ago? Hotep, what did you tell me?
A-E-I-O-U.
And that's what you teach your children in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? That's incorrect.
Correct.
The reason I know it's incorrect is because Spanish is older, French is older, Italian is older, Latin is older, and if all those languages are older, and if every language on the planet is saying A-E-I-O-U, until you get to English, and then all of a sudden you got 5 ways to say the vowel. Well, something here must be incorrect. Well, then why doesn't anyone want me to figure this out?
Mr. Black,
Yeah.
what deficit does that cause?
Causes a lot of deficit because when I cannot hear the vowel sounds, I can't hear the language. And I'll never speak the language correctly, whatever it is that I'm trying to learn. And then so when our children go to school and they say they're learning foreign languages, that's what they say in the schools, but the only way they can say the vowels is A-E-I-O-U, they'll never speak the language.
So when they go like...
Wait, but sometimes why?
Sometimes why?
You've heard that sometimes why stuff?
In English.
Yes, you've heard that sometimes why, right? What is that sometimes?
I don't know.
Ah, isn't that strange? And all of our children are in that same position. They don't know either. I'm doing lectures in colleges and I'll ask people, what are the vowels? And they'll say A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y. And I'll ask them, well, what is that sometimes? And guess what? They tell me everything. And some of them, every now and then, will catch one say, I don't know. But most of them, they lie. And they say all kinds of stuff. None of it is correct. Isn't that something? It's weird. Well, you say, well, that create a deficit. I suggest to you, if you are speaking a language that you don't know anything about, oh yeah, it creates a deficit.
So are you, if I was pronouncing the vowels correctly and I said they brought Slavs over here, I would have to think differently about the word then.
Well, number one, you would know for a fact that the word that you're saying, number one, does not come out of Africa. And if the word doesn't come out of Africa, I want to know how these other people that they want to say came out of Africa came out of Africa. Because they got all my children thinking
something about some damn slave. And then all the slaves came out of where?
Africa, of course.
Isn't that strange? And we're trying to figure out how the lie is actually getting told and who's telling the lie. See, because I think personally, I think a lot of y'all that's around here trying to save so-called black folks are telling the same lie.
One of the prominent attorneys on Facebook today said that Christmas Adams was a slave.
Ah, well, you know what? If he said it to me, I'd have cussed him out.
Well, I did it away.
I know that I've had people say to me, George Washington Carver, you talking about the peanut man. Isn't that right? Have you ever heard that before? Yeah. See, when kids used to be in my class and they say that stuff, I have to get up and get out of my room. I have to leave. What are you talking about, George Washington Carver, peanut man? What are they talking about? Oh, and then they said, well, that's what they had been taught in school. Okay, tell you what you do. Get out of my room and go do some research, and I'll come back and tell me about George Washington Carver. Now, guess what happens after we're going to do some research? We find out that no, this was not the peanut man. What did he do?
He was a scientist.
What kind of scientist? How many sciences was he involved with? What is a scientist?
Right.
Around here trying to make the children be too smart. Ain't there something?
So we got a question in the back.
Where's the question? What's the question? What's the question? Yes. How are you not the descendant of a slave? Let me ask you a question. Whoever you the descendant of, since you think you are a descendant, you going down. I like to think people going up, you know. But it's okay, you want to go down, go down. However you want to be descendant, are you talking about your ancestors? Why would you call your ancestors slaves? I'm just kind of curious now. Come on, you asked me a question, and I want to address the question. I just want to know from you, why would you call your ancestors slaves? They said, what's they got to do with what I'm asking? What? Wait a minute, I can't hear you. Some train's going, he's talking. What are you saying? Say it. Who said it was mostly slavery? Your teachers. Now, didn't you just hear me tell that baby over there, I'm going to get you ready for all these teachers who want to put that nonsense into your head. So you didn't get ready, but now you come into my class. So now we got to catch you up and get you ready. Now, that doesn't mean that when these teachers are putting that nonsense in your head, that you're supposed to tell the teacher, well, you're wrong about that. You're not supposed to say anything. You're supposed to keep your mouth shut and let them say whatever they want to say. But inside of you, you will know that your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and nobody else they could possibly be talking about was anybody's slave. How do you know they were slaves? I know that that's what your teacher told you. Your teacher told you all your relatives were slaves. But how do they know? I can't hear you. Then wait a minute, now listen to what you're saying. You don't know how they could know that, but they thought it was important enough to put that into your head. Why do they think that's important? Why do they want to put that into that little girl's head? What? I can't hear you. Oh, that's why they're putting that in your head? I think they put that in your head to make sure they'll never have to compete with them.
Excuse me, Don.
Yeah.
We got quite a few people.
In the future, I don't care where you are, in someone's classroom, in someone's church, in front of someone's TV, at the movie theater, in front of reading a book, I don't care where you are. Never let anyone get into your brain where all of a sudden you start thinking of your relatives and your ancestors as slaves. See, no one can tell me, you can't even tell me,
No one can tell me how do you know they were slaves? What makes a slave? Submission makes a slave. Well, guess what? I will bet you that however I've had to come through this step by step from one to the other to become the second coming, I bet you not one of the ones I've come through has ever submitted. You know why I know that to be real? Huh? Because I'm not submitting. Because I'm not submitting. And understand something. That gene that you just spoke about, it's in some of these babies. Now, what I've got to do is I've got to figure out a way to get them to learn in such a way so they learn how to hide the fact that the gene is there and can nobody destroy them unless they run their mouths. You see, that's the only way they can wind up being destroyed. Something. We've got all kinds of thoughts about this, but we don't know too much about it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our children to reading at a young enough age, and then to actually involve themselves in the kinds of discussions that they need to have so they can start figuring this out, so we don't have to be under all these misconceptions generation after generation after generation. And I'm telling you that it's incorrect what they're saying on Law and Order. 5'8" Caucasian. Have you ever looked up Caucasian?
Just through,
Have you ever looked it up?
no.
Listen to what you're saying to me. See, a lot of people think they know what something is, but they've never, ever bothered to look it up. How do we know? How do you know about this stuff? Are you black?
Yes, sir.
You are. What makes you black?
My ancestors.
Your ancestors, which ones were black? And how did they get to be that?
Never took time to think like that.
Ah, so you mean to tell me you usually let somebody tell you something out the clear blue, you never bothered to check?
I just do what my parents told me, like my father.
And you thought they knew what they were talking about, huh?
You know, when you're young, everything your parents say is.
That's right. Now, guess what we've got to do at this point? We've got to go back and do our parents justice. In other words, we can't put anything that they told us into concrete. We've got to go and find out how to correct this so that these little ones, when we start aiming them and pointing them now, they can evolve something that is true and correct.
So are you suggesting that we eliminate descriptive terms for race?
I'm saying that anything that is inferior, anything that denigrates, you should, yes, eliminate that from your vocabulary. And I'm also, I'm glad you said that. You were about to say something first.
I wanted to do an exercise, follow up on what we were doing in the car.
All right, well, hold on 1 second. You said something that stuck with me all week. I was just about to get it out. It had to do with what we're talking about.
Race?
Yes, it had to do with that. Slaves.
Slaves.
Aren't you the one that said genetically or something?
I said genetically my ancestors were slaves.
Good! How do you determine that your ancestors genetically were slaves?
I can go look back in somebody's book at a library and see somebody's name that was in my family and we do a genetics test. That's going to prove that they were in my family and at that point in history they were slaves. So genetically they were slaves.
Okay, now, how does that book prove to you, how does anything prove to you that they were slaves? Unless you go to that point in time and have a discussion and you say to them, are you a slave? And then guess what? What if you go and you figure out a way to actually travel in time and ask them, are you a slave? And what if they look at you and they tell you, you know what? You are really insulting me. That you, in the future, would actually use a term about me that your worst enemy has developed to describe me. Why would you do that? These are your ancestors. Why would you ever use any term that was developed as an inferior way of labeling somebody about them? We don't know that they were slaves. We don't know that. The only way you can know that is when a person says, I am that. Now, I do know that everybody that had something to do with putting the Civil Rights Museum down there at the whole house, they were all slaves. I know that. I know that. Anybody that would participate in miseducating your children, they are slaves. Anybody that would fight for civil rights, those are slaves. Now, how do I know they were slaves? Well, a group of people that are my relatives, relative to the past, call them Wachinas. A Wachina was a state Negro. And in the state Negroes, they were usually slaves. And the slaves were after equity. You know, all they wanted was to be treated fairly. They wanted to be respected. They wanted to be equitable to who?
To their oppressors.
To the state.
To their oppressors, to the state, to snuff it. Ain't that something? Why would you want to be equal to this? This is something. I can remember myself growing up, and I used to always think, as a child, I was no older than them. And, you know, I heard my relatives all talking about the white man's world. You know, what would they, some of you older people, what would they tell me about the white man's world?
You have to be better.
Well, you had to be
10 times or
10
2 times better.
That's what we said back in the 50s.
Oh, you did? But what were they always telling you about the white man's world? That you had to grow up and get a good education so you get a good job where? What do they call it? What are you supposed to be descendants from? Apes? Caveman? Y'all supposed to be descendants of cavemen, right? Slaves. Oh, now y'all descendants of slaves. You descendant of a slave? Huh? I didn't hear you.
No, sir.
Oh, good, good, good. When did you find out you wasn't descendant of slaves? Well, let's see about your mama. You descendant of slaves, then? Are you a descendant of slaves?
I thought it was.
Ah! At least we got somebody that's willing to tell the truth. She said that somebody had gotten into her brain and actually had her thinking that she was possibly a descendant of slaves. That didn't happen with you, huh, baby? They didn't get into your brain, huh? Did you tell your mama this? Did you tell your mama, Mama, you ain't descendant of no slave?
No, sir.
But you've been wanting to tell her, huh? How do you know? I know how you know. See, we got people like Brandon Emotep, the champion of the Negro.
No, don't do
and
me. Don't do me.
Yeah.
Don't do me like that, Dr. Black.
Oh, you shaking my hand.
Okay, you're shaking hands like I told you.
Yeah, just give me that, son. All right, thank you. You gotta learn. Yeah, you don't know nothing.
Brandon Emotep knows that slave go back to Slav. That's a Europe. That's from Europe.
How about this? How about this? You're gonna learn why you're not the descendant of slaves.
Slavic speaking people.
Okay? You're gonna learn over a period of time. You will learn how when you hear that word. Remember we were doing the poem in the beginning? By the way, what did the poem say? What did the poem say? Oh, you can't pull it up now.
Oh, I know it says people.
Ah, good. You trying.
For people.
For my people.
For my people.
Keep going.
Where they walking.
Ah, no problem. No problem. Wait. We're gonna show you. We're gonna show you how to pull things up so that you'll get it. Let me show you. Curio,
Yes, sir.
Give me first 5 presidents of the United States.
George Washington, John.
Loud enough for the people in the back to hear you. They won't pay you any attention if you don't speak up.
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and John Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, and John Tyler.
That's 10. I'm asking for 5. Good. So you pick up from where he left off. You take that first line up there. Tell us what it's talking about. Read it to us. Read it to us first. Read it.
For my people everywhere, singing their slave songs.
Stop. Did you happen to notice that that little man right there and this young man right here, when they were saying this poem, they didn't say what you just said. What did they leave out?
Slave.
Good. You did notice that, didn't you? They left it out, didn't they? Well, why did they leave it out? Why did they leave it out? Let me ask you a question. When you saw that word, slave, hit the thing, hit the button. When you saw that word, what else did you see in your head at the same time that you saw and heard that word? What did you see?
Slaves.
What did they look like?
They were dark and chained together.
They were dark? You mean their complexions were dark? And they were chained together, so they all looked like Mr. Bell, and they were chained together. All of them were chained together, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, don't you think that's strange that that's what you should see in your head the minute that you see or hear that word? It is strange. So here's what you do from now on for the rest of your natural life. I don't care where you see it written and who wrote it. All you have to do is eliminate the word out of your thoughts. In other words, why should you think of people as slaves? And if you do think of people as slaves, why should those be your ancestors that you're thinking about? You got a question?
No, I have an answer to that.
Oh, good. What's your answer?
Because the visual image that they put in our books and what they teach us on media
What?
portrays that vision.
You said there are media that causes you to see that visually?
Yes.
Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to erase that power that they have over our brains. You're going to get control of your own brain. Now, I do not need you to run your mouth about it. You don't tell these people that you have control of your thoughts. You don't broadcast it. You keep letting them think that you, what's that little girl? Which one? Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? How does a garden grow?
Copper shells and silver bells all in a row.
And all them damn weeds. Don't y'all remember that?
Ain't no weeds. I remember.
You remember about Jack and Jill went up the hill? Let them think you Jill. And you know, she always comes down pregnant because she's a gopher. Let them think that. But you don't have to be that. Follow me? You don't have to be what they're thinking. But you don't stop them from thinking what they want to think. Don't get angry and don't be quick to be so quick to defend yourself. You got nothing to defend. You have nothing to prove. Now all you have to do is excel. They'll never see you coming. You see, first of all, whoever they are, if they're as evil as they've set this thing up, they cannot see you. You quit trying to make yourself be seen. You learn the art of invisibility.
Like the spook who sat by the door.
Huh?
You said art of being invisible, like the spook who sat by the door.
That's right, darling. Like the spook who sat by the door. That's what you're going to learn, how to use that power. Now,
is that right? Yes. Well, how many of us at this point are bothered to learn to find for ourselves? Let's check this out. Give me a young person that's from Denver. That young lady right there. Come on up here with me, sister. Come on, girl.
Let's see if we got this right. I'm going to say a word, you tell me the image you see, okay? Come on. Don't worry, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're together. Lord, peace, God. All right. Slave. Tell me what you see. You see? What? A black person. Now, she's telling the truth. See, if I call up one of you adults, you'd lie. She's telling the truth. But why did she say that? Now, I'm going to say another word. You tell me what you see. Jesus. Tell me what you see. All right, I'll make it easier for you. I know you're going to put yourself on the spot. Somebody's going to get mad at you. An angel. Tell me what an angel looks like. You ever seen a picture of an angel? Who's seen a picture of an angel? What did it look like? All right, what kind of wings? What color are the wings? What color is the clothing? Did you say white man? White woman, you've never seen a white woman angel. You won't see any women angels. Women do not go to heaven. Women are cursed, according to the story. Oh, they left that out, didn't they? Yeah, ain't no women angels, y'all. That's why I don't want to go to heaven. I'm going where the women are. Yeah. Trust me on this one. Now, if I wind up going someplace that don't nobody want to go, one place no one wants to go to, I ain't working there. And you're not going to get me to go someplace later on, same rules apply that apply here, and I'm going for the same nonsense that you've been going for right here. Sister just told me, child. I said, slave. She said, what? Somebody that looks like one of y'all. Why is she saying that? Now you are adults trying to figure this out, but you were going through the same problem she's going through right now. Why is she going through it in the first place? You want to know why? Let me explain to you why. People were kidnapped from the continent. Where were they kidnapped? What group of people were kidnapped out of Angola? Chokwe, over Montu. You don't know about any of these groups, do you? Tell the truth. No, you don't know. So now we're guessing up on something. We're reaching at something, but we're doing it in a very fictitious way. We're just making something up. So this particular group that's come together, they're trying to do something step by step in order to figure out how to do it. We jump into things thinking we already know. We get to the end product without doing any work. Oh, we got a lot of work to do, y'all. Because we got to get this image out of our head. Because just like it's in her head, it's in all the rest of these children's heads. But why is that image there? And most of them can't even read when they leave high school. Now that's strange. They can actually see you as a slave based on you say this word slave, but they can't read when they leave high school. From the minute they start school and before they get to school, something is already programming into their brain that people who look like them, people that they are, the descendants of, their ancestors were slaves.
You say you were a slave yesterday. I bet you were a slave today.
Don't do that, Doc.
Oh, God.